Hey folks, thanks for stopping by today. It is a beautiful day. We are so stoked for this episode. I've been waiting all winter long. We are starting the seeds for our summer garden, and we're so excited. Starting the tomatoes, cucumbers, bell peppers, all the things that make our wonderful summer gardens we're going to get started with today. So excited you stopped by. We hope you stick with us. We're going to look at a few questions today. Hey, why would I want to start my own seeds? When would I start my seeds for my zone? And what are some of the things I'm going to need maybe to help me start my seeds if I want to get a good start on my summer garden? So we're going to answer all those questions today. We're going to look at why you would want to start your own seeds. What time you would want to get started. We'll pull up a map of the U.S., look at all these zones, maybe calculate some dates for you on when you would want to start those seeds. Most seeds start 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date. So that's why it's important to know what your zone is. And then we'll have a link in the description below for this video for all the things we're going to talk about, even the seeds. I have all those listed out in case you want to check some of those varieties out. So thanks for stopping by. We hope you stick with us. Grab yourself a cup of coffee. I'm going to grab me some, and let's get started. All right, folks, why would you want to start your own seeds? What are some of the reasons that you might want to do that? The reason most people start their own seeds, I will take these, let's see, we'll take these cucumbers, for example. These are straight 8 cucumbers. I've been growing them for several years now, and the reason I grow this variety, the taste is very good, but the primary reason is they have a resistance to powdery mildew, which is in my zone, zone 9A, in the area I live. Powdery mildew for cucumber plants is absolutely detrimental. As I drive down the road in the morning and the afternoon to work, I can see just house after house, backyard garden after backyard garden. After about 6 weeks, when we start putting our cucumbers out, they're starting to get susceptible to the powdery mildew in the area, and they just start going downhill. Another 4 weeks, and cucumbers are dead. Several years ago, I started looking for varieties that are resistant to powdery mildew. Sometimes they have this variety in my area, sometimes they do not. Same thing for some of these other varieties. This Oriental eggplant is supposed to be exceptionally flavored. I grow things that I will enjoy eating. These nasturtiums, they are beautiful to look at. I plant them around my garden simply for the fact that they add color. Same thing for these sunflowers. These are mammoth sunflowers, and I'll throw a picture in here from years past when I've grown those, and those things can get 10, 12 feet tall easily. If you have chickens, the chickens love them. Squirrels love them. They'll come in from my wooded area around the house. They'll chew off seed heads and drag them into the woods. These baby icebox watermelons, they're perfect for perfect size to share with you and your spouse, or if you have your kids, you can cut them in half, give them to the kids. These aren't always available in my area. I know I'm going to grow them every year. They're exceptional. They do well in my area. I can't always find them, so I'm planting the seeds to ensure that I have those plants in my garden. So that's probably the number one reason people start seeds. Another reason, you can save money over buying plants if you are frugal. You can wait for these seeds to go on sale. You can see if you are buying for years. You know, there's normally up to 50 seeds in these packets. So I'm going to plant these chives because I eat chives a lot here in the South. We eat onion tops, parsley, chives, garlic chives. That's a staple of almost every meal. This is in my garden every year. So 50 seeds, I'm probably only going to put 3 or 4 plants of each variety. 50 seeds, I have seeds for several years. So in the long run, yeah, if you pay attention to what you're doing and just don't get outrageous buying, you know, $20 packs of seed potatoes, then you will probably save money. So that's why people look at buying seeds. So let's take a look now at the different zone areas and zone maps so we can determine what zone you're in and when your last frost date is. Okay, let's take a look at a first and last frost dates for the United States. So you can see the map here is split into different zones, and here we're in zone 9, but take a look at the map. I'll have a link in it in the description below. This is from the Spruce.com. It's the first and last frost dates. So this map tells you exactly your area, when to expect the last frost date. So this will give you the first bit of information you need to determine when you want to start your seeds, if you want to start those indoors. So for example, zone 9, my last frost dates average from anywhere from the end of January to the end of February. So typically what you plan to do is plan, let's use zone 9 as an example. I would expect to put my plants into my garden around the end of February. So what's going to happen around the end of February, I'm going to bring up my favorite weather site, and I'm going to click on the extended 10-day forecast, and I'm going to forecast that weather out for the next 10 days in my area to see if any of those temperatures are dropping down into the 30s, mid-30s or low 30s. And that's what you have to be worried about when putting your seedlings out. That frost, that last frost that will come and decimate your crop that you've worked for over the past couple weeks. So that's understanding your zone area's last frost dates, and that's going to tie into when you start your seeds for your area. So check out the link in the description below. It'll have a link to this map. You can go back and check and use it for reference in future dates, and hopefully if you decide to plant your seeds. So let's move on to the next topic. All right, folks, we've looked at why you might want to start your seeds. We've looked at when you might want to start your seeds. Now let's take a look at a couple items that will help you start your seeds and be as successful as you can with starting those seeds. So real quick, link for all these are in the description below. And hey, folks, if you're enjoying the video, do me a favor, click like, click subscribe, hit the bell notification, select all notifications. Believe it or not, it helps the channel. It helps me bring you more content in the future. So let's take a look at some of the items you might want to pick up if you're going to start seeds. Now you can start seeds in styrofoam cups. You can start seeds in these planters here. You can pick these up on Amazon. I've actually saved these over the years as I've bought plants from the big box stores or the local nurseries. Our local ag center will have plant sales sometimes. I've kept these over the years. As long as you keep them out of the sun, after you put your plants out, I store them in my shed. They're not going to break down. The light's not going to break them down. The sunlight's not going to break them down, and they will last for decades. So I have a large number of these, so I use them, reuse them from year to year. They do make starting your seeds very easy. This is about a 3-inch pot for things like tomatoes or peas, things that get a quick start and have abundant roots, you're going to want to start in these 3-inch pots. These smaller pots, you can actually even start your tomatoes in here. You're not going to want to let them get over 3 or 4 weeks old though in here before you would want to transplant to some of the bigger pots. So these pots you can get on Amazon. I'll have links in the description if you want to pick some up. They are extremely inexpensive. So consider that. Now, what is one of the 2 things your seeds will need? The first thing that seeds need, they require moisture, okay? The second thing, a lot of people are going to think it's going to be light. Actually, seeds do not require light to germinate. They need moisture. And the second thing we're going to cover later on in this video, so stay tuned. So we have your seed starting pots there we talked about. The next thing you may want to consider, I know a lot of the box stores, they all carry potting soil. It's getting tougher and tougher to find the seed starting mix. I had to go to 2 different box stores before I found this. And I actually looked it up to make sure it was on Amazon. So I'll have some links in this description below for some seed starting mix if you can't find any in your area. The deal with why would you select seed starting mix over a potting mix? The seed starting mix is extremely light and fluffy. It's generally a large amount of peat moss in it. Peat moss is not going to compact and restrict your seeds as they start to open up and start to bloom and reach for, reach for the daylight that's going to be coming in. So that just helps ensure that the soil is not going to be too compacted to restrict those seeds from getting out before they have a chance to rot if you have too much moisture and they're staying in there too long. So I do recommend picking up the seed starting mix. Now, 2 things to keep in mind with seed starting mix. You want to pre-water that before you use it. And if you're going to pre-water it, you might as well use boiling water. They have a gnat fly that will lay their eggs. Usually all the seed starting mix will have the eggs of this the moth. So a week to 2 after you put your seedlings in, you'll start seeing these little moth flies flying around. And that's what it comes from. It's coming from your seed starting mix. So boil some water. We'll do that here in a minute. Pre-soak your seeding mix. That'll kill those moth fly eggs. That'll also kill any fungus or anything that might be in the seed starting mix to give your seedlings an excellent start. So we've taken a look at the potting soil, the seed trays, warmth. Is the other big thing that seeds need. They need moisture and they need a certain temperature before they are going to germinate. Now, if you look at the back of these seed packets, Johnny seeds are excellent. Burpees are also excellent. Burpee has all their information here on the front. Johnny, if you turn it over, it is just loaded with information. You can also look it up on the websites. Both of these, they do a really excellent job of telling you everything. Start the seeds 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date. Sowing depth is a 1/2 inch. And it's going to tell you the soil needs to be 80 degrees to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? These are for cucumbers. Tomatoes are very similar, your cantaloupe. Most of these seeds are very similar. They're going to want you to keep them in the 80-degree range. Normally, your house in winter, especially if you have it near a windowsill, your house is going to be about 65 degrees to 70 degrees, especially near your windowsills. So these heat mats, if you want to kick your seed starting into a next level gear, these seed starting mats are like $10, and they will warm the soil between 10 to 15 degrees warmer than the surrounding area. So if it's 65 to 70 degrees, it's going to take it up to 80, 85 degrees. If you take a look at Johnny Seeds, they will have a germination rate with the temperature. They'll have a scale for each seed you look at, and you can see 60, 70, 80, 85, that plateaus. That tells you that is the exact temperature those seeds are looking for. You're going to get the best germination rate. So if you plant 5 seeds, you're probably going to get 5 that germinate. If it's 65 degrees, you may get 3 out of 5 that germinate. So seedling mat is something to look for. You don't necessarily need it. I've picked some up over the last couple of years. I found they work excellent. I'll have a link in the description if you want to check it out. Check it out. Now, when you have your seedlings, you may have several of these lined up. These trays are absolutely excellent. They're about $2 a piece. I'll have 2 or 3 that starts all of my vegetables. What makes them so great is that you can get them with a lid. So the bottom tray is usually about $2. The lid's usually about another $2. So that's less than $5. This is going to create the perfect environment for your seedlings. The top cover is going to help keep the moisture in. If you have the seed mat underneath, that's going to warm it to that 80 degree zone. So it's really going to give your seedlings a jump start, kick them off. You'll see them sprout a couple days earlier than you would otherwise. So this is another recommendation. I'll have links down in the video description below if you want to take a look at that. All right, let's get planting. All right, folks, we mentioned pre-moistening this seed starting mix. Here is an example of what happens if you do not pre-moisten and then you try and water on top of that. As you can see, the peat moss takes a while to absorb that water. So if you're watering overhead with a water bucket or a water can, that water is going to hit the top, it's going to roll off. So it is very important for you to pre-soak your seed starting mix. I'm going to pour that in, just mix it up. Remember, it is boiling hot water. You do not want to be stirring it with your hands. So you're just looking for a consistency. You want to be able to squeeze it. It holds its form, and then you can easily crumple it apart. We have our seed mixture set here. You can see we can squeeze it together. You can squeeze about a drop of water out. It holds its shape, but you can easily crumble it. That's about the consistency you want. It's not rocket science. Remember, once you get everything planted, you're going to water these well. So it's going to be saturated with water by the time you're done. So it is absolutely important to have something to label your seeds with. I use a plastic stick and just write in pencil. The pencil holds up. The next year I can erase them and reuse them. Just a number 2 lead pencil. So again, we'll have links for those down into the description as well for you to pick some of those up if you're interested. So we're going to get started with tomato seeds, and we are starting with the Super Fantastic, which is a medium-sized tomato. The reason chose Super Fantastic I was lucky enough to find plants last year. I tried those in my garden and they did excellent. They are an excellent tasting tomato. They lasted through the season and had decent disease resistance. So could only find these, well, I found them on Amazon, so haven't used the seed supplier before, so I'm going to plant 2 tomato seeds per cell just to ensure I get at least one that's going to germinate and start. Okay, everyone, so we have our seeding pots ready. We're doing some tomatoes. Again, this is, we're going to be doing some super fantastic tomato seeds. And also I have a Jasper F1. It's a hybrid cherry tomato. So if we take a look at some of the information on the back, we're going to see that tomatoes need to be planted. If you're going to start them indoors, they recommend you start those 5 to 6 weeks before your last frost date. And they recommend you germinate the seeds at a temperature of 75. See how small those seeds are. And the average recommendation is you want to bury about twice as deep as the seeds are wide. So tomato plants, they recommend about a quarter of an inch deep to bury those. And just for those who may not understand how much a quarter of an inch is, I marked this plant marker. So you can see the line here, that's about a quarter of an inch. So we're gonna put just 2 seeds per tray for each of these. This is pre-moistened seed starting mix. And again, I mentioned I have not used this seed grower before, so that's why I'm doing 2 seeds, at least 2 seeds per cell. If you have someone you have used before and you know they have a good rate of germination, you can definitely go down to 1 seed per cell if you want. So I have all of these planted. I have my stick labeled. So what I'll do is just lay those on. I have 3 cells on this side, so that's going to be the same, super fantastic. I'll put a labeler on it. These are going to be the 2 cherry tomato plants. So I'll plant those as well. And then come back. All right, folks, we got the seeds in. We got everything labeled. Seed pencil really works fine. You can read it, no issues there. And then you can erase that next year, wipe it off, and use something else. So going back to tomatoes, growers recommend germinating those at 75 to 90 degrees for sprouts. That's Fahrenheit, or you can have 24 degrees to 32 degrees Celsius. And once the seeds sprout, they recommend growing them at a temperature of 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 16 to 21 degrees Celsius. So we're just going to cover the seeds here. Push those down, make sure we have good contact. All right, folks, our next candidates are cucumbers. And we are looking at two selections that I have for cucumbers. We're picking Straight 8, which is a All-American selection winner. For years, it is a great tasting cucumber. They only get about 8 inches. They don't get huge if you don't see them in time, is the reason why I grow that cucumber. It tastes great, and it's an heirloom, so you can keep the seeds and replant those. And we are growing the Straight 8 cucumber. I'm sorry, also the Diva cucumber, which is, Diva is resistant to powdery mildew, and also resist the cucumber vine yellow virus. So cucumbers, they recommend 80 to 85 degrees to germinate your seeds. And it's going to take those seeds 7 to 14 days, depending on your condition. That looks like a cracked seed, so I'll put an extra one in there. At those temperatures, they should emerge within 7 to 14 days. If you're using a heating pad, it will probably be around 5 days. So that is all of the Diva cucumbers, which I got from Johnny Select Seed. So I'll have a link to that in the show description. This is the Straight 8 cucumber. You can see they don't get huge, so that's a reason I continue to grow those. And also, again, as I mentioned, they are heirloom and All-American selection winner, which those they do trials to grow seeds. I think they have trial spots throughout the United States to make sure the seed is, the plants perform well in different situations. And then they don't sell seeds, they just recommend. So it is it's been an All-American winner, I think, several years. And again, that is 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, 27 to 29 degrees Celsius for cucumber. And then after they germinate, let's see here, they recommend a temperature to grow at about 75 degrees. So this is the Diva cucumber. Okay, so we have those planted. I'm going to cover them. All right, folks, we are back with some jalapeno peppers. Now, I like a mild jalapeno pepper. I like spice with my meal. I like to be able to taste my food. I don't want the back of my neck to be burning when I'm eating. So I came across what is a Jalapeno M, is what Burpee has. And it says it is it is what you're going to get if you get a jalapeno from the grocery store. And usually those are mild. So I'm going to be growing those this year. And I love these. We pickle them in a sweet mix to make candied jalapenos at the end of the season. We do a jalapeno pepper jelly, which is excellent for the holidays, our family get-togethers. So I'll probably be doing some of those later in the year. But the candied jalapenos that we do, I rarely eat peppers straight from a jar, but that is definitely some that I will eat straight from the jar. So again, that is a jalapeno M, and that is from Burpee. So again, these are all untested seeds, so I'm going 2 per container. I'm doing 6 pepper plants for jalapenos. I usually also grow the chili peppers, red chili peppers. I love doing the red chili pepper flakes. I mix that with parsley and basil to make an all-around seasoning, spicy seasoning blend. I'll be doing some videos for that later in the season. I also do a hot sauce, a homemade hot sauce that is excellent, and we'll do that later in the season as well. I smoke the peppers first, and then I roast the onions and garlic and all the things that go into there, and it is great. It's a mild pepper sauce with a ton of flavor. So the jalapeno M, it says to plant that 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost date. It loves a temperature of 80 to 90 degrees. That is 27 degrees to 32 degrees Celsius. And you can expect that to germinate in 10 to 21 days. So if you're using a heat map, probably 7 or 8 days. If you're not using a heat map, it's by a drafty windowsill, 21 days. All right, so we'll get that labeled. All right, moving right along, we're doing Sweet California Wonder. Happen to have gotten these from Burpee, but I believe you can get them from any grower. So bell pepper, it just mentions to sow after the last frost date. So you can really start those anytime, as long as you understand they're going to take about 10 to 21 days to emerge, and it says to keep them at 75 degrees. So I'm going to do half the container here. Just do a 3-pack for bell pepper. And I generally harvest all my bell pepper. We eat some, and the rest we'll cut up and put in the freezer. So 3 plants probably be enough. I may pick up some more during the season, once we figure out how much garden space we got left. Okay. So we'll move along to cover these up. And we'll move along to the next thing. All right, as I mentioned, I'm only using half of this planter cell. So we have bell pepper on this side. The other side, we're going to do a Burpee hybrid cantaloupe. The flavor is supposed to be excellent on this. So if you're splitting cells, make sure you're planting items that are going to emerge around the same time. So the cantaloupe has about the same, I think it's 7 to 15 days for germination, and it's the same growing and temperature requirements. So just make sure you keep those labeled, and you should not have any problems as long as you understand what you have and temperature and how long they're going to need to germinate for. Then they should be fine. and that is Burpee Hybrid Cantaloupe, as well as California Wonder. All right, we are up to Eggplant, and I have been waiting for 2 years to grow this variety. It is supposed to be excellent flavor. I grow eggplant every year. As I mentioned, zone 9A. It is definitely a southern plant, loves the heat. I normally grow the globe style, which is one of these. This is an early midnight, also supposed to be excellent flavor from Burpee. The Orient Express is a Oriental style, hence the name. That was from Johnny Seeds. Orient Express, it's an F1. Now the Black Beauty is an heirloom, so you can save the seeds from that and grow that over and over. We're going to start with the Early Midnight Hybrid, which is similar to the Black Beauty. It's a big globe style, and I'm going to plant 2 seeds if I can see them. These are very small. These are similar. Eggplant seeds are similar to tomato seeds. I'll put an extra one in there. They're very small. So if all of those come up, we'll just thin them as we need to. So that was the larger Early Midnight. And now we're going to do the Orient Express, and I'm going to plant 6 of those because I look forward to growing and making many dishes with this. So eggplant is, it says 8 weeks before your last frost date. They love 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit when you're germinating the seeds. That is 27 to 32 degrees Celsius. Expect them to take 10 to 21 days to germinate. And then after they germinate, they're looking for a soil temperature of 70 degrees, which is 21 degrees Celsius. So that is eggplant, 2 varieties, Orient Express, and Early Midnight. Orient Express. Look how good that looks. All right, gang, we're up to watermelons, and I am doing 2 icebox varieties for watermelons. We have a Sugar Baby, which is tried and true in my garden, and I'm also testing out a new Chubbiness F1, which is supposed to be excellent against cracking. So one I got from Burpee's and one I got from Johnny's Select Seeds. So they both are the same information. What I'm gonna do is split the pot here. We're gonna do, I guess we'll do 6 Sugar Baby and we'll do 3 Chubbiness, since Chubbiness is a test. So we'll do 2 seeds in each. Now, if your seeds are cracked, you notice any deformity, go ahead and throw a 3rd seed in there. And if you notice, I'm going deeper with the watermelon seeds because the watermelon has been the biggest seed so far. So you normally want to do twice the depth of the seed width as a general rule of thumb. So just so we don't forget, Sugar Baby's on this side. And we're going to go with Chubbiness on this side. And trying to remember, Chubbiness is also, it's an F1, so it's not an heirloom. This is supposed to be a seedless, which is counterintuitive since there are seeds. But that's why I picked that one, so we'll see how that turns out. I may be switching, if it works out well, maybe switching to it as the primary icebox variety for our southern garden. Okay, so there we go, Sugar Baby on these two, and then we have Chubbiness on those. All right, guys, so that wraps it up for our vegetables. Okay, folks, I just want to remind you one more time how crucial it is to pre-moisten your seed starting mix. Still floating on top. Okay, folks, seed mats, warming mats, simply plug in. You can see we've got some sprouts the kids were testing. And the seed trays simply sit on top. Make sure they're well watered and then cover. And that is all you have to do. So you want to check those roughly every 2 to 3 days.